Test. Test.
That's good now.
It's live.
Mhm.
Oh. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Game Changer Show. I'm your host, Mike McKay, and today I'm here with Louisa. And today we wanted to talk about something that's been a game changer for us recently, which is the power of fast feedback. And I think this has really been seen across multiple areas of our business. It's in hiring, it's in onboarding, it's in debriefing when things don't go the way they're supposed to go, whether that's on a renovation or something else. Um, so, what have we noticed recently? I'll let you get off.
Um, huh. I think that we have been really good at giving ourselves feedback. For a bit though, I think we weren't fast enough to give ourselves feedback. I think we've been good at debriefing, especially after something has gone wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe before we weren't being fast enough in the middle of.
Mm.
Um, so it was taking us a long time to make a decision.
Was it a long time to make a decision, or we just weren't giving ourselves feedback quick enough, so we didn't realize there was a decision to be made?
Yeah, I would say we didn't realize there was a decision to be made.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of like the biggest thing for me. Just like the fact that giving ourselves feedback faster allows us to realize that there's a decision to be made.
Yeah.
And once that decision is made, then we gain so much traction really fast.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about hiring first. I think that one thing we've changed a lot there is Louisa does all the hiring right now. We're mostly hiring sales positions at the moment. And frankly, sometimes Louisa makes a hire and I let that person go within a day or two because I just realize they're not going to work out. Sometimes people show up, and I think maybe this means what we've taken from this, the feedback, is we needed to change some things about our interview process. We've talked a lot about on here about our interview process, so I'm not going to go into depth there, but we would hire someone, and I'm the sales manager, right? And then I realize they're not going to work. And then we quickly debrief now and we say, okay, well, why didn't this person work?
Yeah.
How can we avoid someone like that? Not that they're bad people, but they're not going to be successful in a sales role. How can we avoid someone who's not going to be successful in a sales role ever being able to even start or ever being able to make it that far along in the process?
Mm-hmm.
And well, let's talk about one of the changes you made. You made one change about 2 weeks ago.
The personal interview?
Yeah, the personal interview.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this, I think, 2 weeks ago when I did the change, but I'll just kind of go back to it. What I realized was I was missing a little bit more about people's story, and the fact that I've realized now, once you get people's, they're like second round interview, they have shown like their sales skills and they meet those check boxes that I'm looking for. Now I'm having a conversation with them of like the cultural checkbox, right? Are they a fit for me? And what does my gut tell me? Right? So, are they aligned with what we're looking for? Are they aligned with the way that we work?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I found, I not how do you say that? Not to toot my own horn.
Not to my own horn.
Yeah. But I think I'm a great listener.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting. The more you interview people, the more you can catch on so quick on like the words that they choose to communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're not in a sales scenario, they choose certain words that immediately bring a red flag for me. Things like, like they unconsciously start telling stories of like how they don't like sitting in front of a computer for a couple hours, right? How they like being outside talking to people, like that's their sales skills. But now they want to do something remote. And I'm like, well, why remote and why now? And then they're like, well, and they have a motivation, but then they tell me all these things why they love selling outside and meeting people,
Which is not the job because we do
which is
everything
not the
virtually.
job,
Yeah.
because everything's virtually and you're going to have to pick up the phone and call. And then I confront them about it. And I'm like, okay, well, let me challenge you on this because I want to make sure that I'm hiring someone that is going to be successful with us from day one. And I think that's something that people respect.
hmm
And they're like, yeah, sure, like hit me. And I'm like, okay, well, you're saying you don't want to be in front of a computer. That's what I'm hearing, right? And they're like, oh, I guess that's right. And I'm like, well, you do realize what this job is, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, um, I guess I didn't think about that.
Sure.
And then they'll tell me, you know what? No, it's not a fit. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then that's the
Yeah.
end of the interview. And so, but with that, it's not only the remote thing, it's just like culturally, it's where they see themselves, what it's just like everything.
Yeah.
And it just informs my decision to a place where I'm like, it's like a hell yes
hmm
or it's a definite no.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that has allowed me to make much better hires.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that came from just
Debriefing.
debriefing, right? We're like, well,
Yeah.
this person didn't work out. Mike, why did you let them go on their second day? And I said, well, they just weren't going to make it. And here's why they weren't going to make it.
Right. Or just like even things where like we started noticing like maybe certain trends. Right.
Trend, yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
One we made a week ago. We started noticing a trend. We used to say you have to make an offer in your first week as a salesperson. Otherwise, you can't work here anymore. And then when we realized it's actually not, that has nothing, someone making an offer in their first week has nothing to do with whether they're going to be successful or not. Because anyone can push through an offer. We realized that we analyzed the metrics of people who do well, and we realized that it's actually, they have to be able to keep people on the phone for longer. So it's talk time. We changed our metric in the first week. You have to have 7.5 hours of talk time in your first week. Otherwise, you can't stay here. And I think we make it very clear to people. Like, it sounds really rough the way I'm saying it, right? But we make it very clear to people when we hire people in sales. Like, our minimum earning in sales is $93,000 a year, and you can probably make up to, I mean, there is no cap, but I mean, if you're a good salesperson, you can make probably 170. And I tell people, like, my agreement with you is I'm not going to keep you in a place where you're not going to make at least 93,000, because that's what you want to make, and that's what I need you to make to be able to make what I need to make,
right,
to make this worth it to me. So if you're not going to make 93,000 a year, I'm going to let you know right away.
Yeah. I think though something important about that trend is we noticed that trend from fast feedback.
Yeah, because we had someone we hired who was we think they're really good. They're only on their third week now.
Yeah.
And they had a really good talk time, but they didn't make
they had
an offer.
They didn't have an offer. And so we were like, okay, this is a metric that we hold ourselves accountable to, right? It's like the hard stop metric. And then you came over and said, what do you think? And I said, well, I think we might just be focusing on the wrong metric.
Yeah.
And so at that point, we looked back at the data and we made the decision to change. And I think that decision was made fast. We kept that person, and we could really see how that person had so much more traction in the second week.
Yeah.
Like positive traction, where like that person had a lot of offers second week.
Yeah.
And so that did show us like, okay, there is a curve that they're overcoming the first week.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, okay, the focus maybe was just wrong.
And now I tell people on their first week in our onboarding that your focus this week is just to have good conversations with people.
I think actually that focus is so interesting because we changed that focus and we hired someone today.
Yeah,
Well,
and they got
before,
it, and
and
they
they
got
got
an
an
offer on
offer.
their first day. Yeah.
But his focus, because
It's-
I spoke to him earlier today, and he said, "Okay, so my number one focus is talk time, right?" And I said, "Yes, that's correct."
yeah,
He said, "Why do you think it's so important?" And I said, "Well, that's going to give you the traction you need to get to offers." And he was like, "Okay, I'm just going to focus on that."
yeah,
Right? And then he got an offer.
yeah.
So I think, you're also just setting people up for success by doing the basic one thing that they need to focus on.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy, right? When you have a conversation with someone who owns real estate and is thinking about selling it, and you just have a good conversation, shockingly, they want to hear what you have to offer. And
Right.
not in the way that it's in the first 2 minutes of the call, right? In the
Yeah.
way that they seriously want to hear what you can do for them to solve their problem
Yeah.
because you actually heard them.
Yeah.
So I think that was one thing with fast feedback.
Yeah.
I think another thing that we've got better at is we have a sales operations assistant who works with
Mhm.
us, listens to a lot of the calls, helps me keep track of a ton of stuff. And I realized that I wasn't giving her enough feedback to be able to give the sales reps the best feedback. Like her feedback to them was good. I mean, she sits in on our sales trainings. It was good, but we started to realize that, you know, what's really the one thing that's going to move the needle, right? For the feedback for the salesperson.
I think that for me, what we noticed
hmm
was just misalignment on what great means.
hmm
Right. And so the minute you start taking, like, listening to calls with her, you guys start like aligning so much more. Right. And she starts noticing so much more the difference between good and great.
Yeah.
Right. And so, what is the one thing that this person needs to do to go from good to great?
Yeah.
Because by going from good to great, they're achieving their goals, meaning
Yeah.
they're getting a contract.
I think what we realized too from doing those sessions,
Mm-hmm.
right, is that she was listening to a lot of the longer calls that salespeople had. But as we started to listen to those, I'm like, I want you to bring a couple short calls, less than 5 minutes, and I want you to bring some longer calls, and we'll listen to them. And what we realized was that the majority of missed opportunities come because someone is in the short calls because a prospect says something like, I want X amount of money, or gives some kind of objection, which is typically just
A screen.
a smoke screen, right? Like no one calls you and says, I'm super desperate to sell my property. I want to sell to you right now. Like, please take it off my hands. That does happen rarely, but like
Rarely, yeah.
But we realized that so by having those sessions, we shifted what she does a lot. I'm like, I want you to listen to a lot of short calls and tag those as missed opportunities in our CRM, which then regenerates the opportunity as a new lead for another rep to take it.
Yeah.
But some of that was painful.
Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. I mean, there was 2 short calls that I listened to, and I told her, I was like, we need to turn this off. I'm gonna vomit. Like, there's a couple calls that were so bad. I was like, it's just so bad. And I was like literally, I want to say getting physically sick, because I was like, I paid $600 for this lead, and that's the call. So one thing we realized too is that the sales reps, and we hadn't coached them well enough on this, they were hearing like an objection in the first minute or two, and they were taking that as a person not being interested. And I'm putting this on us and saying this is our fault, because we should have coached more on this, because we weren't listening to these calls. And like, we did a training this morning on like, what do you do when someone gives you an objection in the first 2 minutes? You just sit there and you listen.
You move on. Yeah. Like,
you go,
you go like, yeah, keep going.
Right? And we realized that we were missing so many opportunities from that simple thing. I mean, essentially, my sales training this morning was on the objection. It was like, when someone gives you an objection in the first minute of a call, just go, right, and let them keep talking. Right? So that was something that was from feedback.
Yeah.
And then I think too, we've gotten better at giving the feedback of the one thing that salespeople can work on. Her and I work on it together, and we also yeah, I think there's, and oftentimes it's something really simple.
I would say one of the biggest things that we've changed in the feedback that she's giving them
Oh yeah,
is making that feedback super short
yeah,
and just like very digestible, and just like here's the one thing that if you focus on today would help you get a deal.
yeah,
Right? And I think it's she's listening to these shorter calls with that in mind. What is the one thing that this person can do that would help them get a deal today?
yeah. And I think that maybe what she's taken away from doing stuff is even when a call is longer, when there's a problem later in the call, and one of my old sales coaches told this to me,
Mm.
it's almost something you always did wrong in the beginning of the call. You're getting resistance when you get to giving someone an offer because you just didn't do well in figuring out what their problem was.
Mm-hmm.
Not because they don't like your offer, but because they don't feel like you're solving their problem.
You didn't listen enough.
You didn't listen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think her framework is pretty good now. We give like a 3 bullet point thing basically, where it's like, here's the feedback, here's your focus, and here's the action step.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sending the, also I think that's important in the action step, where giving that in a way that, like, different ways for them to learn, like we'll maybe link to one of the old, like a 5-minute
Mm-hmm.
training we have, right? So someone, and our trainings are all designed that, yes, it's a video, but it works for people who are auditory learners, and it also has subtitles, so it works for people who learn by reading, right? Or she's asking them to listen to a call and give themselves feedback, so we're
Mm-hmm.
also increasing the speed of that self feedback loop.
Which takes us to the one feedback we gave ourselves today,
What was that?
which was you've been listening to calls with her.
Yeah.
You and her.
Yeah.
From sales reps, right?
Yeah.
And then she's giving them feedback. And the really painful ones, you've given them the feedback.
Yeah.
But not just the feedback. You've actually called them and been like, let's jump on a call, let's listen to the call.
Oh yeah, listen to the call.
And so today the feedback was for you, and I encouraged you to just do that with all the reps, right? Yeah. And like, okay, let's listen to these calls together, because you're telling me how painful it is to hear these calls. And I'm like,
some of them, not all of them, right?
Some of them, yeah. But I'm like, well, what if they don't know it's that painful?
Yeah.
You know, because maybe they think they did well, or maybe they're like, well, it's bad, but it's not that bad, you know. But then when you listen to it with someone else, and someone else is like, that's really bad, then they have a space for realignment.
Yeah.
And for like being able to say like, oh, okay, so this is what they mean when they say I should improve my pace. Yeah. Or this is what they mean when they say whatever it is, right? So I think that was fast feedback.
Yeah.
And I think that took us to making a decision on incorporating them in these sessions that you already have with her.
Yeah.
Where you're listening and scoring these calls.
Yeah, so now we're going to, in our sessions in the afternoon, we'll invite one sales rep per day, listen to their calls with them. Mm-hmm. So they can also hear.
And score.
And score the call.
And realign. Because
sometimes, like, people score a call and they think they did great on the call. And, like, you know, we have a scoring system that calculates a percentage. They might think they got a 75 and I scored. I'm like, well, I think you got a 25.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we clearly don't have the same definition of what great is.
Right.
So that, I think that'll help solve that.
Yeah.
Realign what is great.
What is great.
What is great.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes you can have, you can have a good call, and like sometimes you can have an offer, right? But it's not a great call.
And you get the deal.
Because
the person really wants to sell.
Because like you're just a bit lucky, right? To that point, the person's just ready. But then sometimes you have really great leads, but you just have good conversations, and they become really huge missed opportunities.
Yeah.
So having that ability of giving yourself feedback I think that is really what is changing the game for us right now in the sales coaching.
I think it's also giving ourselves fast feedback, but also like showing the people on the team how to give themselves
Yeah.
fast feedback.
Mm-hmm.
We already have it where they have to score a call a day, but I think that was good, but we weren't really aligning on what a great call was. Even though they have my call recordings and they
Mm.
have examples of great calls, it's like I think doing it together is going to say, okay, like here's why I think that's not great, and here's what would make it great.
Yeah.
So I think that's been a good thing. And then yeah, really giving. I will add one thing, which is we've changed it now. We're giving them that one thing to focus on each day, that one piece of feedback. And then what we're doing is the next afternoon, we're only listening to calls that happened after that feedback was given.
Huh.
So that'll be calls that were later the previous afternoon or the following morning. The first thing we're asking ourselves is, did they already improve on the one thing that I gave them? If they didn't, we're going to send it to them again.
Mm.
I mean, luckily we have people who learn really fast, so that hasn't happened too much. But like, there's no point in me moving on to a new piece of feedback
The next
if they
topic.
haven't improved. And if they have improved, we're not looking for perfection. Have they improved to like 80%? Right? Okay, let's move on to the next thing that's going to make the biggest difference. Because if your pacing sucks, then we're not going to move on to something else until you fix
It
your
makes no
pacing.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. If you can't keep someone engaged in the first 2 minutes of a call, we're not going to talk about how do you make an offer, because you need to be able to get someone to the offer stage. So we're
Yeah.
going to focus on that. And I think that's also something we really, from the feedback we decided to focus on, is in people's first week, we're focusing a lot of our feedback in the very beginning of the calls.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can't keep people on the phone and engaged past the first 5 minutes, you're just never going to get to an offer unless you get that one desperate person who comes along and just like willing to put up with the fact that you're not listening to them because they really want to sell. And
Right.
that's what 10% of deals, maybe not even, especially now.
I think part of the fast feedback, I don't know that I necessarily have shared this with you, but this is something that I've implemented on the renovation side,
Mm-hmm.
which is we have someone that cleans our properties once they're
Oh, yeah.
renovated. We also have a landscaping team, right? So they do the maintenance to the properties and all this stuff. We have the constructor, right? The GC. And we have the stager.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm doing now is I'm asking each of them to give me their raw feedback about the property,
Ah,
right? Because to me, they see things that maybe the person that has been our boots on the ground consistently walking it does not notice.
sure, because they've just been there too much.
Or he does, but maybe it's something that he mentioned to me, but I just kind of like didn't hear it, or didn't see it. And then I have our cleaner say, "Oh, hey, you know what? If I were to buy this house, I would think this one thing, I would not like it." And then I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then the landscaper comes and says the same thing.
Mm.
And I'm like, "Okay, here's the one thing that I need to improve." And I think that was something that I have been doing different that has allowed us to get the last properties that we've gotten under contract much faster
Yeah,
than other properties we've had on the market.
sure.
Just asking for that constant feedback of different sets of eyes.
Yeah.
I think for a while there, I was waiting a lot for feedback from people that were going to walk the property.
From buyers,
From buyers.
which don't leave feedback most of the time.
Feedback. And when they do, it's kind of odd feedback. Like they don't point out the one thing, right? But the way I ask our vendors is like, what's like, if something were to stand out for you, what's the one thing that you would be like, huh, this is like something I wouldn't like, or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
or I would improve. And they come in, and once they like tell me, I'm like, okay, here's the trend. This is what I can do better,
Yeah.
right? And immediately improve it. So that's been something, and I think that that's with like fast feedback.
Hmm.
Um, I think that also fast feedback is something that you've started doing recently with RTC.
Hmm.
And I think that's something that has helped her improve so much and grow so much in the role.
What did I do? I don't remember.
So I feel like, like once we're like on, on set to like close a property,
Hmm.
right? You're like, okay, so if you have questions, just call me, right? And if she's doing something wrong, you're immediately giving her feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, this is how you should be doing this, or just walking her through, right? Which in the beginning, I understand like might be a little tedious, but it's like fast feedback in the sense that it's like it's easy for people to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, so this is how this works for this. Okay, now you can move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And just like even the way of like giving her fast feedback on the way she communicates with other people,
Oh, sure.
and
Yeah.
how she um this is something we've implemented, which
Hmm.
is in our weekly L10 meeting for
Oh, yeah.
properties. She's rating
I forgot.
how the seller is feeling
Yeah.
about the transaction. So how would they grade their level of
Well, every week she puts a 1 to 3 star rating, like about like how the seller is feeling. Right.
mhm,
One is like things are bad, like this time we need to fix. Two is like it's
yeah.
good, but like they could be getting antsy,
Yeah.
or like there's something that's stressing them out. Even if and the thing is, it's even if everything is going along as planned
Yeah.
with the transaction. Sometimes you just have a seller who they've got other stuff going on in their life, and that other stuff can derail the deal,
Mhm.
even though you're doing all things right.
Yeah.
So like, how do we solve that? How can we solve these other things for them?
Yeah.
And then number three, if 3 out of 3 is like they're in good spirits, like like everything is good in their world, they're feeling good. And that way we can just go and say, okay, well, why is the seller's rated at 2? Like, what's going on? And
Is it something related to them, or is it something that we can do better?
but regardless, we're still willing to fix it,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Like
no, no. I just
we've done really weird stuff, not weird, but like
yeah.
stuff for sellers that's like, oh, what was one of the ones I can't remember, like outside of like the normal helping them with moving and stuff, but there's been.
Oh, we've called utilities
Oh
companies
yeah,
to
when they're
help
like
them.
behind on their utilities and their utilities are going to get shut off, we've gone and called the utility companies and negotiated extra time for them or paid for their utilities so they could have utilities for
Until we
until
close.
closing.
Yeah.
Or there's been a couple other ones that are like kind of out of the box, but
I think it's just really helping them.
we got that. Well, that's kind of for closing, but we had a seller who was in the hospital and needed a new ID, so we found a government program where someone would go to the hospital and take
Yeah.
a picture of them and get them their new ID.
I think it's um and really I think this is something that has allowed us to, with her as a TC, but also just with the way that the market is right now, it's something that has allowed us to kind of construct these deals and get them along
Yeah.
is actually being able to do these things and think outside the box and really help people get to the finish line.
Yeah.
Because how is this person ever going to sell if they didn't have an ID?
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
how are they going to close,
Yeah.
um
Or getting them mobile home titles and VIN numbers for them when they don't have them.
they
Right.
don't have them
And there's
and they're
no access to the
squatters.
property. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. So I think that's been important.
Cool. Any other ways that we've.
I'm thinking. Um, I think I'll go back to go ahead.
Oh, I have one that just came to mind, which is I think we're with our onboarding, we are constantly updating our sales onboarding to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
So we have new salespeople and they ask questions and we track all the questions. We
Mm.
either like, there are questions that are sent over Slack or WhatsApp. So I would export those conversations, tell ChatGPT, hey, export all the questions here. Or if they were on our Zoom trainings, we exported that and said, export all the questions here. And then we started creating like FAQs and videos of the most common questions that happen in the first week.
Mm-hmm.
So now when someone gets onboarded, like, yeah, we still do get questions, but like
Not
nearly as
as
many. And so they already almost, and it's built in still where it's like we're focusing on like the most common questions in the first week. So we're not throwing too much information at them.
Yeah.
So I think that's been something, just updating that.
That's been huge. Yeah.
And it saves me a lot of time answering the same questions, right? Well, our sales operations assistant will just do that, add a list in Notion to me, and then once every 2 or 3 weeks, I'll go in and I'll record 10 new videos.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's been big. That is a very fast feedback loop that we have there.
Yeah.
Right? It's a question, it's adding it, video, it gets edited, it gets added to Trainable.
Yeah.
They immediately have access to it. That's a really fast one. I like it.
Yeah.
I was going to mention just hiring and the way that you've been doing the marketing, just giving fast feedback to like what to do.
Oh yeah.
Right. Just, like even this morning you were like, just asked me like, okay, so how many like buyers or like closers are showing up to the interviews? And you're like, well, we need to hire more, and so what's the issue? We just need more people to show up.
Yeah.
Right. So just having that ability of being like, okay, this is the decision that needs to be made and the action, the course of action to be taken.
Yep.
I think that's all I got.
I think the only other thing is, this has been something that's been on our minds, is we've been traveling a lot. We kind of miss going to events and seeing people. And I don't know if everyone listening to this show knows, but a lot of people might know, is that I used to own a nightclub promotion business in New York. So throwing events is actually my specialty. I've probably thrown, 1,200 events. I did that business for 4 or 5 years. And I feel like I want to, when we get back to Jacksonville, probably first quarter of next year, because we've already got our rock set for this quarter, is I really want to throw an event in Jacksonville, a quarterly event. I'm on the fence if it's going to be real estate focused, if it's going to be real estate and mindset. Maybe we'll have 2 different events. I don't know, but we're open to ideas. So if anyone's listening and has ideas of things they'd like to see in an event, I'm looking to do something totally different than has ever been done before. And I think it'll be something exciting that we can put together. But if you're listening and you have ideas, I would love to hear those ideas so we can shape that event for end of first quarter of next year.
Yeah, and I want to say, just like, from, if you are listening in any sort of relationship with real estate or mindset or anything like that, I just a week ago had a conversation with one of our contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him like, oh yeah, we want to do an event, and I just kind of want to know what you think about it.
Mm.
And he was like, oh my God, really? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I would be like so excited to go.
What was the idea that you told him about?
And well, I just asked him, what do you think that the event should, and he was like, well, the one thing that I look up to you guys so much is that you're focused on one thing.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, tell me more. And he was like, yeah, you guys have built like this reputation where you like buy mobile homes, and you really think about you guys, but you're also like, have this team, and you're like, have the podcast and are building all these things. And I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, I admire the way that you guys have built your brand around yourselves. And he's like, and the way that you've built a team, he's like, every time I sit down with you, I learn something new. And he was like, I learned something new about, okay, well, we're focused on building this around us so that the business can leverage us. right? And so we've applied or we've implemented this, this, and that. Kind of one of your friends says this a lot, which is like, oh, Mike, you have so many businesses but inside your own business,
Oh,
right? Um,
that's because they're all meant to serve the business. They're not for sale to anyone else.
so, but he said that, and he was like, one of the most interesting things is he's like, I've attended so many real estate events. And I
Mhm.
said, okay, what's like, um, I'm gonna butcher this question that you've asked me a couple times, but it's like, um, what is um what is the one thing that you could walk away with?
Oh, what's the one thing that if you achieved it would make this event or this time you spent with us the best investment you've made all year?
So I wrote it well when I sent it to him. And I said, if you were to attend that event,
Mm.
what would that be? And he said, an event where contractors were actually invited into the event.
Mm.
And I said, okay, tell me more. And he said, well, all these real estate events are about real estate agents or real estate investors, wholesalers, and all this stuff. He's like, but none of these events really go to talking to contractors as well. Right? Knowing that still contractors make such a big like
Hmm.
part of everything we do. And he's like, it's not like I want an event to be held just for contractors.
Hmm.
He's like, but it is very interesting to have someone like I've shared Notion with him, right? He's
Mm.
like, have someone share just even like these software or whatever you guys are using that can be used also for contractors. He's like, what we struggle with the most is not knowing how to scale our businesses,
Hmm.
not knowing how to market, right? Not know, and I'm like, well, that's really easy. You just it's the same concept. He's like, yeah, but that's very easy for you. You're in it, right?
Hmm.
That's your thing. He's like, but what about something that you could really bring people in?
Hmm.
And I said, okay, like, I gotcha. And I said, like, thanks for sharing that. And he was like, well, thanks for asking. It makes me feel like really special.
Hmm.
And I was like, absolutely. And so I just want to, like, if you're listening to this and you are one of our vendors, or you're not one of our vendors, but you are in some shape or form like impacting real estate, I would just encourage you to reach out to us
Hmm.
and tell us like what would that thing be, that one thing that you could walk away from the
Yeah.
event.
I would encourage like, anyone who's listening
Yeah.
to this to say that. So I'll ask the question so you guys can DM it to us or text us if you have our phone number, which is, what is the one thing that if you were to achieve it would make attending our event the best investment of your 2 hours that you've made all year? So what's the one thing that if you were to achieve it would make attending our 2 hour event the best investment of your time you made all year? So send us your feedback. We'll announce more about the event next quarter because we are focused on our one thing this quarter, but it is probably going to be one of our rocks for next quarter, but you'll probably be hearing from us around February about the details of the event.
Cool.
So we'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks everyone for listening. Send us what you got.